everyone, I'm Mama J. Today I would like to show you two bookmark types that I love to make. The two styles I have, we just have a magic ring with either double crochet or treble crochet on the inside. And then we have one with the heart. I like to use charms at the end. You can either use tassels, you can use beads. These are polymer clay charms that I've made and just attached with little earring attachments. And if you would like to see a video on how to make these polymer clay charms, just let me know. I'd be happy to make one. So for today's demo, I'm going to be using these two charms. I'm going to use the cross and then this little green circle here. And again, these are just polymer clay charms that I've made. These are some other ones that I've made. One thing I want to mention is the overall size will vary based on the yarn thickness and hook that you use. The strand would need to vary based on the book that you're targeting. Like you'll see here, this smaller one would be good for paperback, and something of this larger style would be good for a hardback book. All right, so to get started with the heart, the charm I'm going to use is this cross. You can either attach the charm before you get started and then just kind of slide it out of the way on your yarn, and then you would just, I'll show you how to pull it up at the end when you're ready for it, or you can attach it when you get to the base of your chain. So to get started, we're going to work in a magic ring. So you want to hold your yarn with the tail facing you, and we're just going to lightly wrap that yarn around our fingers and then cross over on the top, and then just hold that yarn here with your pinky finger. So you're going to slip your hook underneath the yarn closest to the tip of your finger. You're going to grab the yarn and you're going to just twist. So now you've got a loop on your hook. Don't hold the loop too tight, because now we're going to grab this yarn and we're just going to do a chain. Now that chain is not going to be part of your pattern. It is just to help secure that ring so it's easier to hold. It stays together, and then you can work into it a little bit better. All right, so to begin the heart pattern, we're going to chain 2. And now we're going to work 3 treble crochet into our ring. So to do a treble crochet, we're going to yarn over twice. You're going to insert your hook into that ring, draw up a loop. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through the remaining 2. All right, so let's do that again. Yarn over twice, insert your hook into the ring, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through 2. And one more. Yarn over twice, insert, we're drawing up that loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through 2. All right, so there are our 3 treble crochet. Now the next thing we want to do, we're going to add 4 double crochet into our ring. And if your ring starts to get a little bit big, you can tighten that down a little bit, but you don't want to tighten it too much until we're finished making that heart. All right, so 4 double crochet into the ring. We're going to yarn over once, insert into the ring, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. All right, there's 1, 2, 3, and here's 4. All right, so you can see the heart taking shape, and we're actually working in an upside down motion. So you can see here, the top of the heart is where we're at. Now we want to create the point and then work down into our chain. All right, so for the shorter bookmarks, I use on average 30 to 35 chains. For the longer ones, I've gone up to 60, average 40 to 50. All right, so now we're going to work into that chain, and just for today's demo, I'm going to do 25, but I'm going to stop when I hit 24. Now I do want to point something out. I want you to notice the two strands right here on that last double crochet that we did. We're going to work into that, so it would be a good idea to go ahead and put a stitch marker in there just so it's easy to find as we work our way back up that chain. All right, so I'm going to do chain 24, and I'm going to do 25 overall, but we're going to start with 24. All right, so here's 24 chains. If you added your charm before we got started, you want to pull that up to the strand and just kind of hold it back here behind your hook. Now I'm just going to go ahead and add mine, and I'm just going to put that yarn right through. And I can do that because my loop is a little bit bigger. Make sure I put that on in the right direction so it's the shiny side is face up. All right, so the loop I've made, remember I need one more chain, so we're just going to use that loop as my working yarn and pull that through and do that one more chain and just tighten that down. And it would be the same if you added the charm before you got started. You're just going to grab that yarn and do one more chain. Either way, we just need to chain one around whatever fastener we have on our charm. All right, so now to work our way back up the chain, we're just going to slip stitch. All right, so we're going to do a slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. And then we're just going to slip stitch all the way up our chain until we get to that stitch marker. All right, so we've got one more before we get to our stitch marker. I'm just going to do another slip stitch. All right, now we're going to slip stitch into those two strands that we marked. Just go right up under there. Might need to take your stitch marker out to work your way in there. All right, and again, we're just going to slip stitch. All right, now we've got our strand done. We've got our charm attached. We're just gonna mirror what we've already done here. So remember we ended with 4 double crochet. So now we're gonna do 4 double crochet. We're working back into that ring. Hold the charm so it's not so clicky. And we're working into that ring again. So we've got our 4 double crochet. Now we want to do our 3 treble crochet. Remember, treble is to yarn over twice. We're working back in the ring. There's 1. 2. And 3. And remember, we started with a chain 2, so that's what we're going to end with. And to secure that chain 2 down, we're just going to slip stitch into the ring. All right, so now we can take our tail and tighten that ring down to see the heart. Let's pull it nice and tight just to close that circle in the middle. And there you are. Now what we want to do, one final chain, we're just going to chain 1. And then we're going to snip that yarn. And then we're just going to pull it right through that chain 1 and then tighten that down. All right, and you're going to want to weave the ends in. And what I like to do when I'm using the magic circle, instead of weaving down into the base of the circle, I like to use the actual ring. You can see here, those are nice and tight where you've made the chains into the ring, or you've made the stitches into the ring. So I would just take one strand, weave it under this way, take the other strand, weave it under that way, trim them both off, and that's really nice and secure. All right, for the second style, we're going to again begin with a magic ring. Yarn tail will be facing you, and we're going to just wrap that yarn lightly around your two fingers, making sure to cross over on the top. You're going to slip under the yarn that's closest to your fingertip, grab that top piece, twist, not too tight, and then we're going to grab this and just do a chain to secure that. For a magic ring, there's patterns that have single crochet, half double crochet, treble crochet. For something like this, I like to use a treble crochet, but if your yarn is thicker, then you might want to drop down to a double crochet because then it would be too big. So for this, I think I'm going to use the treble crochet. So we will start with a chain 2, yarn over twice, and then insert into that ring, and then do your treble crochet. And I like to do probably 12, but if you get to the end and you've got 12 and you try to close that circle and you've got a huge gap that when you try to fit them together, your circle's kind of folding in on itself, I would just add another stitch or 2. All right, so let's continue on with our treble crochet. All right, here's my 12th one. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one, and then I'm going to test the circle and see how it looks. So you can see here, if we were to try to close this, it's going to pucker up a little bit. So I think I'm going to add maybe 2 or 3 more just to go ahead and continue filling that. And since this is not part of a pattern, then it doesn't matter how many we have in the circle because it's not going to affect anything else that we have on the outside of that or any additional rows causing too many stitches. This is simply just making a circle, and you want to make sure that you've got enough stitches in there to where it's a nice, good, solid circle. All right, so that's better. All right, so we're going to go straight into our chain, just like we did with the other one. We're not going to go ahead and close this. Unlike the other one, remember we slip stitched into the top of that last stitch. We're not going to do that with this one. Okay, we're just going to do how many ever chains you've decided to do, and I'm just going to do 20. All right, so there's 19, and now I'm going to pull on my charm. Remember to balance out your front versus your back. I'm just going to loop this yarn. All right, so we've got the extra strand. We've got our charm behind the hook, and then we're just going to finish that last chain. So now we have 25 chains. Our charm is attached, and now we're going to slip stitch, not into the chain we just finished, but the next one, the second one from the hook. Just slip stitch back up the entire chain. All right, I'm coming down to the end here. So I've got one more chain to do a slip stitch. And we're not going to go into the top of that other stitch because we're going to need that when we close this join. So we're not going to do a chain. We're just going to trim off our yarn, leaving enough that we can weave that in at the end, and we're just going to pull it straight through. Now just feed your needle onto your yarn. Now, if you were to slip stitch to close this, you're going to take both of those strands of yarn of that first treble crochet. And we're going to go front to back. We're going to take that yarn straight through. Now we're going to look at the previous treble crochet, and we're not going to go through both of those. Again, we're going front to back, and we're just going to grab that back one. And essentially what we're trying to do is create the V, and that helps with the invisible join. I need to tighten it down a little bit just to secure that. Probably could have used one more treble crochet. That would have helped close up that a little bit, but I'm not going to take it apart just to do that, but just keep that in mind when you're closing that circle. If you have any bit of a gap, that's going to give you a problem. So now that we've gotten that invisible join, we've got our V created, then we're just going to weave in these ends and just weave them as far as you can, as tight as you can, because that one really doesn't have anything securing it. So you want to weave it in as much as possible. I like to get to the center. As I mentioned in the other one, I like to weave my ends around the middle part of that circle because it's the tighter part of this. And we'll just trim that off. I weave the original tail. I do that last because you might need to go back and tighten that circle down a little bit. Now again, take that and then just weave it the opposite way around your circle, and those will help hold each other. Now you can see here we've got a nice full circle with our stem, and then we've got our charm for our bookmark. So with that, I thank you all for watching, and until next time, have a great day.